Don't overdo it and risk all the progress we've made. That is the plea from the Prime Minister tonight as the latest easing of lockdown restrictions takes effect. Now in England, 6 people can meet up outdoors and the stay-at-home order has been lifted. But also today, new figures show the extent to which some groups are still not taking up the offer of a vaccine. The latest 24-hour government figures show a further 23 people are reported to have died with COVID, bringing the UK total to 126,615. There have been another 4,600 new cases in the UK and another 293,000 people received their first dose of a COVID vaccine yesterday. More than 30 million people have now received their first dose of that vaccine. Jane Death has this report.
The weather was on message for the first big lifting of lockdown in England. 2 households or groups of 6 are allowed to socialise outdoors. Stay at home becomes try to stay local, although it was confirmed today a trip to the beach is allowed.
I know how much it will have meant to millions of people to have joined someone else for a cup of tea in the garden. And I must stress that it's only because of months of sacrifice and effort that we can take this small step towards freedom today, and we must proceed with caution.
The government can begin to lift restrictions on people's lives because the vaccination programme is going well, bringing down infections and easing pressure on hospitals. Between December and March, the vast majority of England's over 70s had their first dose of the coronavirus vaccine. But when the Office for National Statistics looked at vaccination rates by ethnic group, there were stark differences. Uptake was highest among white British over 70s at 91%. The groups with the lowest vaccination rates were those with a Bangladeshi background or who identified as Black Caribbean or Black African, where just under 60% had their first jab.
Of course, the government wants vaccine uptake to be as high as possible, but some people say what feels like the hard sell is actually putting them off.
They said it's safe, but we don't know if it's safe. They have to prove it is safe, to prove, look, it's safe, look, blah, 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 it's safe, yes, but not only say, it's safe, it's safe. No.
Do you know many people that feel the same as you?
Yeah.
So what would you say to your friend? How would you persuade him?
Yeah, well, me, I've done it, nothing happened to me. So, maybe it's safe.
Because it looks like they are forcing people. Yeah, they are forcing people, do it,
They say maybe they get sick, something like that.
So why did you decide to have the vaccine?
Because I want to travel, go to abroad, so they said you have to take it. Yeah.
People scared, sometimes people are scared, but it's good.
Good feeling, good.
Okay, try somewhere.
It's good, it's no problem.
Pastor Adam Zonzolo has had his first jab, but at church he's preaching to the as yet unconvinced. In his congregation of 80, more than half say they don't want the vaccine.
Somebody speak very bad about this vaccine. Maybe in the future it will not good for us. Maybe if you take the vaccine, maybe one day you become sick again.
Who's telling them that the vaccine will make them sick? Where are they getting that idea?
In the TV, in Facebook, everywhere. Bon, the people ask me, you do face? I did. So, you did? What you feel? Ask me what you feel. You feel well? Yes, of course. I feel well, no problem.
Do you think you've changed anyone's mind?
Of course.
How many?
Oh, maybe 20 more than that.
Misinformation about vaccines, rising COVID cases in Europe and the threat of new variants, all are driving government caution. Today, a reminder of why. A red heart for everyone in Britain who's died of COVID, opposite the Houses of Parliament, painted by their families and friends.
Jane Death reporting. Well, now earlier I spoke to Dr. Bharat Pankana, who is an expert in infectious disease and public health. I asked him if this is the right moment to begin lifting restrictions.
It is a cautious moment because we were told we would be looking at the data and reassuring ourselves that all is well before removing restrictions. At the moment, the data does look positive, but I must emphasize that just because it is okay to interact with other people doesn't mean that everyone should do so. They need to make their own assessments and tread very gently, very carefully.
This is the problem, though. It's one person's judgment against another, and what is safe and what is not.
Indeed, and the narrative I hear, the narrative that is very clear is it is now okay for 6 people or 2 households to meet. It is okay for outdoor sporting activities and so on. And I think it should always be prefaced with, and also please consider your own health needs before interacting with several other human beings, because otherwise, especially if you are not immunized, you could get infected.
Now, higher numbers of the black community are said to be resistant to having the vaccine than the rest of the population. What can be done about that?
This is very important to first acknowledge that this is the case. Black Africans have the highest vaccine hesitancy, followed by Black West Indians, followed by Bangladeshi and Pakistani population. What we need to do is, with this population, engage, and the best people to engage are their GPs. So give you an example of when I was a consultant communicable disease control in Bristol, I went out to the local community and found out what their problems were, and then explained to them in their own terms, in their own language. And it is that sort of intervention that works really well. You know, what I call shoe leather epidemiology. You get the people who know the subject to go to the people, find out what the issues are, and talk about it.
Seems that the absolutely crucial date is in June. Are you confident about that or worried about it?
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. And this date in June, 21st of June, has been set. And I have many friends, colleagues, etc. And they all seem to be thinking all doors open on the 21st of June. That shouldn't be the narrative. The narrative should be, if all is well, we will consider opening all doors on the 21st of June, not the other way around.
Dr. Hankanya, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
So now in England, 6 people or people from 2 households can meet outdoors, including in private gardens. This change follows Wales and Scotland, who already allow 4 people from up to 2 households to meet outdoors. Northern Ireland will allow 6 people from 2 households to meet from Thursday. Still with me? At the same time as this small taste of social freedom, some amateur sports are also opening up in England for the first time in months. Our Home Affairs correspondent Darshna Soni reports.
Laughing with loved ones. It doesn't get any better than that for Sue O'Gorman, who, after months, was finally able to see daughter Helen and the grandkids today.
I really miss them. It's just nice to have cuddles again and just be with them because they're lovely.
We missed out Christmas, we had Christmas all planned, and we missed out New Year's, and yes, it's been a very long time, so the kids are very excited.
Does it feel good to be out?
It feels lovely. We're very excited that we're seeing people that are in 3 dimensions and not just flat on a screen.
And what better way to celebrate?
Pims and a French tablecloth.
2 households or groups of up to 6 are now able to meet outside in England. Here at Kenilworth Castle, families ventured afar to crack the clues and hunt for dragon eggs. The Mahoudin family travelled here from Milton Keynes, about an hour away.
I feel really happy and sort of free to get out for a bit.
How was lockdown for you?
Boring, although in some ways it had its own beauty. But yeah, it's
You're happy to get back to school now?
Yeah, it's much nicer to actually be out in the open, not just your back garden.
After months of sacrifice and separation, this feels like a big moment on our quest to ease out of lockdown. The sun has even been shining and we're promised a mini heat wave as friends and families rediscover the joy of 6.
English Heritage reopened 60 sites. They and other charities have welcomed the relaxing of the rules.
It's an Easter egg trail. Is it very exciting being back open?
It is very exciting. It's been a really challenging time for us. Obviously, we're a charity, and not being able to open our properties has meant that we've lost a considerable amount of income, which is so important that helps us care for these properties where history happened.
At this leisure centre in Abingdon, Alice Wald admitted her first aerobics class in months was a bit challenging, as organised outdoor sports, including her favourite fitness classes, were back on.
It's so good to be out and in the fresh air and actually being able to talk to people in person. I've personally found it quite challenging, sort of stuck in the same four walls and not being able to get out and do much with any other people, sort of exercising but on your own. So yeah, it's really nice.
It's brilliant. It's so good to be playing again because we haven't been able to play what we consider quite a socially distant sport, but it's really good now that we've been allowed to come out again.
As organised teams return to parks and pitches, courses and courts, the Prime Minister says he hopes this will be the start of a great British summer of sport. In our quest for further freedoms, we're being urged to remain cautious. But for now, 14-year-old Ed is happy just to be able to meet his granddad Peter.
He's now grown 6 inches since the last time they saw him.
So you haven't seen your granddad for how long?
For like a year, basically.
12 months, yes.
So we've bought Christmas presents in the car and Easter eggs and Mother's Day presents and all the big things that we've missed.
The lifting of the stay-at-home order in England happened just days after Wales took a similar step. Scotland and Northern Ireland will follow suit later this week. A small savouring of social freedom that tastes so very good. Darshna Soni, Channel 4 News at Kenilworth Castle.